Good afternoon, Annie Bujo, Kinawea. My name is Jen Begin. I am here on behalf of Grandmother's Voice, and I am honored to introduce our speaker this afternoon, Layla Staats, who is a Mohawk woman. She is Turtle Clans from Six Nations. She's a filmmaker and an activist, and so much more. And she is here to talk to us today about an event that's coming up this week, co-hosted by Grandmother's Voice, and featuring an amazing film that called Blood and Water. So take it away, Layla, and tell us all about it. Thank you.
Sego. Sego, everybody. That's how we say hello in Mohawk. Sego. Try it. Sego. Sego. Sego, Skanagoga, Layla Staats, Young Yats, Nora, Niwa Gitarorin, Ganya, Gehaga, Niwa Gotwan Jordan, Oswego, Niduageno. So I said, hello, my name is Layla Staats. I am Mohawk Turtle Clan from the Six Nations of the Grand River. And I'm super pumped about this event. The fact that it's such a small, like, intimate scene, and we're gonna have the chance to cover so many different mediums. Like, we're gonna be showing film. I'm gonna be singing you guys some of my new songs. We're gonna be telling a lot of stories of my journey on this red road, and some of the front lines that it has brought me to, and the moments of decision. Like, I say moments of decision because I think back to that moment, standing on a broken bridge in Wet'suwet'en and in BC, and looking down the road at 100 RCMP helicopters flying through the air, attack dogs like on their chains, like barking at me. These military greens going up the side of the road with sniper rifles, like guns pointed at me, and that moment of decision where I was looking at Canada law. I was looking at Canada law. I was looking at Canada and their extreme use of overuse of force, of intimidation. And I was looking at them and I was like, you're about to break the law. Mm. And me, I'm not. I've never been in trouble with the law before in my life. I never even liked going to the principal's office. Like, I was a real goody two shoes. I always did what I was told. I always played by the rules. I always never questioned authority. And so looking at this Canada law, I was like, Layla, you are gonna get in trouble. There's gonna be trouble. Uh, and I started thinking about my kids. I have 4 kids. So I was thinking about, like, what are they going to think when their mom is arrested? Now, before we get there, before we get to that moment of decision, let's talk about why I was on that bridge. Okay. And this is something that has changed my life, honestly. And we're not taught this in school. This is something I never heard in my life before I started on this path of reclamation, taking back these teachings that, were lost in my family's history of residential schools. So it was up to me. It was up to me to learn my language. It was up to me to go to find my ceremonies. It was up to me to go longhouse, and it was up to me to really reclaim this knowledge that I was supposed to have all along. But this simple concept, and I work with. I'm in like 5 different schools next week, because this concept is so important to me, and I feel like if we can ingrain it in our children young, when I was supposed to have it, then we could change the world. Are you ready for it? So you were never okay. So let me just ask you a question first. When you were in school, what did you learn? What were you taught about the water? Hmm. What kind of things do you know about water? About water, right? Like, we know it's H2O, so hydrogen, 2 hydrogen and an oxygen, so the molecules. We know that it boils at 100 degrees, right? So we know the boiling point, we know the freezing point. It can come in different forms. So we can have water like in ice form, solid. We can have water in steam with gas. So we know all these things, these facts about water, right? We learned about water. But did we? I didn't learn about water like this. So, are you sitting down? Are you ready for it? Because this could change your life. Water is alive. Water is alive. Repeat after me. Water is alive. Okay? Now, when I'm in the schools, I have this awesome presentation that shows this incredible experiment. Now, I'm such a science nerd. I love science because it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Muslim, like science is science, right? Right? Yeah. So there's this experiment, and it's by Dr. Masuru Himoto. So you can Google that later. But him and his team in Japan did this experiment of putting water under a microscope. So looking at it really close up and then speaking words to it. So they spoke words of, positivity. I love you. You're beautiful. You make me proud. And then they spoke really negative words like, you make me sick. I hate you. And they observed what happened to the water. Now, I showed this to a class on Friday. It was a grade 6 class. And so when I showed the results to the class, I put it up on the screen. I said, if you were the scientist that found this, like did this experiment, and you got these results, what would you think about the water? And this little guy, Isaac, he raises his hand. He's like, I would lose my freaking mind. I was like, really? Because it's very clear that the water can hear us, right? Like, this new age science is proving this ancient ancestral knowledge. So when you look at it, you're like, yeah, water can hear us. Like it's hearing us. It's not only hearing us, but it's like understanding. It has like a consciousness to know the difference of what we're saying. It's wild. And once you know water is alive, repeat it after me. Water is alive. Once you know that, everything changes. So when I first got to Wet'suwet'en, I went down to the river that they were protecting, the river that was being threatened. They're digging underneath the river to put a pipeline in. What happens with pipelines? Not even just the breaking of the pipeline or like the spilling of toxins, but the actual act of digging under the river would create like all of this sediment disruption that would basically make their water undrinkable. So when I got there, I went to the river and I said to Jen, I was like, can I drink this? And she kind of laughed and she was like, yeah, of course you can drink it. This is where we get water for all of our houses, all of our cabins. This all runs off the river. And so I go to the river. And now, anybody out there has anybody out there ever drank from like a fresh water source, like a fresh river? Have you ever had water just from nature? Anybody? So I think about this and like it's it's probably likely that most of us never have and never will. It is probably most likely that your children never will, that your grandchildren never will drink from a fresh water source because we have done too much damage. So when I got there and I was like, can I drink this? I go to the river and they call it the Wenzikwa. They're Wenzikwa. So I go down to the river and I'm squatted by the river. I scoop it up like this and I drink it right from my hand. Right from my hand. I was like, I've never done that before. And the instant that it touched my lips, it was like electricity. It was like lightning bolts, like all through my body. And I just remember thinking, like, this is water, man. This is how water is supposed to be. And this water is alive. Like I could feel the life and I could feel that energy. It was like nothing I ever had felt before in my life. And so as I'm standing on the bridge, this broken bridge, looking at all these cops saying, you must leave, you're breaking the law, you will be arrested. I'm like, I'm looking around, I'm standing there with like matriarchs and chiefs and these traditional, like these proper title holders, like the caretakers of this land for thousands of years. And they have said, no pipelines shall pass. No pipelines shall pass. So I just remember, sorry, I'm getting like a flashback memory. I remember looking at these cops and I'm like, that's the law. You're supposed to follow the laws. You're supposed to obey the laws. And I had to ask myself like a really tough question. I was like, whose laws do I live by? Whose law am I willing to die for? And in that moment, I could feel it from my boots. I could feel it like inside of me. And it was like, there's a greater law here. There is a greater law that must be enforced. And we said no. That day on that bridge, we said no. And I was arrested. um, we're going to be showing, actually, I don't want to give all the stories away because we're going to have the chance to talk, right? We're going to have the chance to actually like sit down and talk about these stories and ask questions. I'm a real person and I want to know, you know, I want to talk to you. And I want you to know that, these experiences are real. And that connection to the land and the water, we'll talk about more of it. We'll really dive deep into it on Wednesday, but it's not just it's a real relationship. And so when I'm thinking, like, I'm standing there and I feel that strength, from the land and the water, and I'm like, the water is alive. It's part of my family. It's part of me, and I'll do. I will. I will. I will break Canada's laws to defend the law of the water. And yeah, I mean, like, it's uh, it's crazy to think that I was arrested that day, and I just remember we were singing, we were drumming, we were peaceful, obviously, but I just remember when they finally did arrest me, and they put me in the back of the cruiser. I'm cuffed and like I'm shaken. Like I've never been in trouble with the law before. It was very traumatic, and it was just like this overuse of force of law, Canada law, and I just he put me in the back of the cruiser, and I remember looking up at the cop, and I'm looking up at him out the door, and he looks down at me, he smiles, and he winks. He winks at me like flirting with me or something, like I'm cute. And I was like, I felt so angry. I felt so disgusted. I felt so powerless. Like there was nothing I could do. I couldn't, like I couldn't call him out. I was like in this position of powerless. He had the power. And yeah, I spent, we went to court. We were paraded around court. We'll talk. Okay, I'm giving out too much. I'm giving out too many details. But that's why I wanted to come out here. It's just to really invite you personally, because we're going to be going through. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some really, um, really raw footage of my interview when I first got back from the arrest and I first got back to Six Nations, and I was recorded to share that experience, and I still watch it and I'm like, whoa, like it was intense. Um, but that's it's like, why would you be willing to put your life on the line? And this is a question I get all the time, and we could talk about this on Wednesday, person to person. But why would you be willing to put your life on the line? Your your brand, your reputation, like your credibility, your goodness in society, and be called a terrorist or be scorned at, be misunderstood by your family, and disappointment in some people's eyes. Why would you be willing to go through that to protect a river on the other side of the country? And it's the water's alive, right? The water knows us. The water remembered me. The water. I've been back 3 times, back to the Yinta, and I brought my kids because I wanted them to see. I wanted them to know this water. I wanted them to meet it and understand why their mother took that step and said no on that bridge. And I mean, this is just a really small part of my journey, but it's like a moment. But I ended up making a documentary called Boil Alert, and this is my full feature documentary. It's like an hour and a half long, so we don't have the time to watch that full one on Wednesday. But what I'm going to do is share with you guys my prequel. So it's my prequel to Boil Alert, which is called Blood and Water, and it's 20 minutes, and then we're gonna have lots of time to talk. But I want to show you guys some clips from Boil Alert because I went on to make this documentary where I actually like lived in these First Nations communities: Nisquandiga, Grassy Narrows, the Hopi, the Navajo, and I shed light. You know, I sat at their kitchen tables and I told their stories. I had them tell their stories of their water insecurities and how it's been affecting their their community. You know, and the one thing that hit me the hardest was the impact on the youth. And we're gonna have some hard talks about that on Wednesday. So I can't guarantee that I'm gonna keep it together because I've not had the chance to talk about these things like in such a small setting. Usually I'm like on a key, like in front of thousands of people, or I'm on a Zoom, or in a large space. But I'm really excited to have this time on Wednesday. And so it's a free event. It's part of this incredible film series where the grandmother's voices and the Palestine supporters and all of these organizations, like make sure you follow all of them. We'll put them in the chat, all of their links, because it's allowing these connections, these conversations to happen between Black communities and Indigenous communities and Palestinian communities, and like bringing all of these voices together in one place to hear each other's stories, to understand each other, to understand how we are connected, how we are similar, and to deepen our relationship to fight the forces of evil. So Wednesday, 6 o'clock, we're going to start it off. I'm going to be, like I said, we're going to be talking about film. We're going to be giving you some highlights from my new film, and we're going to be singing some songs. So I'm really pumped to share the songs with you. A lot of these songs that I've written. So, like, crazy thing, I'm a musician now. So I've been singing backup vocals for my brother forever, right? Like, I don't know if you know Logan Staats. He's my brother. But yeah, I was just like, I have songs inside of me. I have songs. So a lot of these songs were inspired by me like this journey that I've been on. This I call it the Red Road because the Red Road is like this path that we walk as Indigenous people that have been disconnected, that have been displaced from our communities, our teachings, our knowledge, our wisdom, our culture, our identity, and we're taking the steps to learn, to heal, and grow. And so a lot of my songs have been inspired by the Red Road. But I won't ramble on too much. I said it was only going to be 15 minutes, and I just wanted to like personally invite everybody to come on out, and just have a real conversation. Have a real conversation about Indigenous issues. Have a real conversation about the water crisis. Have a real conversation about the struggle and how we can band together, no matter where we're from, because the water is alive, and without it, we die. So, yeah, I can't wait to see everybody. Hopefully I'm gonna bring my kiddos, and they love singing with me on stage. So, it really inspires me to see my daughters go in front of thousands of people and just belt it out. I'm like, man, that's confidence. Like I've given that to them. Yeah, good job, Mom. So yeah, I can't wait to see you guys. If you have any questions though beforehand, or like you want to reach out to me, I'm a real person, Layla Staats, on Instagram, on Facebook. I answer all my own social medias, and yeah, I'd love to have a chat. Sometimes you have questions that you might not want to say in public, or you might have questions that you want to ask beforehand. And I'm just totally open to the dialogue because the more we can talk, the farther we'll walk. Got that. Okay, guys, I am jumping out of here. It is Sunday. I gotta go hang with the fam, and yeah, I can't wait to see you on Wednesday. Free show, share it out, bring people. Like that is a form of activism. Is never going to these things alone. Right. So if you're coming out to check out the film, bring a friend, right? Make sure that we're amplifying the message. We're always pushing it out there. And anything that you see from Grandmother's Voices and all of these incredible organizations, just give it a share. You never know who's going to see it. All right. In Mohawk, we do not have a word for goodbye. We don't say goodbye. We'll say see you later, and we say onagiwahi. So onagiwahi. We will see you later on Wednesday. Check out around this page or in the comments or somewhere for the link to register. It's a free show, but it's just good to have numbers and know that we're not going to be spilling out into the streets. Pretty cool that this event is happening at the church, and they were all like, "Well, are you going to be okay? Like talking in a church?" And like, of course, I don't love the church. And as I've understood and learned the histories of my family, I like the church less. But for me, these events are like an active rebellion, like a resistance, like reclamation. Like when I'm singing in that church, like my voice will be echoing and it will just be taking over. It'll be like reclaiming that spot and making it beautiful again. So I am excited to share it with you, and I can't wait. Onagawahi, Layla Staats, signing out.